Yeah, kia ora, and good day to everyone. Welcome to the Luxon Lowdown. I'm your host, Christopher Luxon. Look, today I'm going to talk about some of the tough things facing our nation lately. I am somewhat aware our government has been under fire lately, and as the leader of the National Party, I'm here to take full a certain element of responsibility for the controversies plaguing our political landscape at this time. It's easy to point fingers and shift the blame. But to put it plainly, folks, we've made some right cock-ups. It's also come to my attention as of late that not all of our cabinet members and ministers have been involved in some, well, let's just tentatively say and cautiously questionable decisions, past and present. And look, it may be time we simply step down, so to speak, from politics altogether. Right, let's start with the Ministry of Education. Our handling of the teacher shortage has been, well, actually not that bad, to be honest, and it could be a lot worse. I'm looking at the figures now. Current estimates predict a shortage of 130 teachers by 2025, pretty good, and only 1/5 of Kiwi kids aren't going to school. Not bad there either. And honestly, the 4 out of 5 kids who are in fact attending school simply need to work harder. I really do think the solution here is more discipline and less funding to the education system. I know what you might be saying, oh, Chris, you've left schools scrambling to find qualified teachers and our students are suffering as a result. Well, firstly, don't talk to me like I'm an idiot. I don't have control over these things. And secondly, who thought it was a good idea to cut funding for teacher training programs? I did me, not you, me. Look, I'm not often wrong, and we're working diligently and efficiently to rectify any minor niggles facing our education system. In more positive news, we've only partially botched and bungled the rollout of the new curriculum. And look, I think the confusion this has caused will be a valuable learning lesson for the younglings, the children themselves. Look, I'm not saying this is an intentional tactic, but it's a good that our kids are learning about resilience because they're going to need it to navigate the leaky buildings and outdated facilities of our world-class leaky buildings and ancient facilities. Look, what else? Sorry, I just saw a magpie and forgot. Oh, yes, the Ministry of Health. Absolute munter. Where do I begin with this one? Nowhere. Actually, that suits our strong team best. Sometimes in life, it's best to ignore the problems and instead remind the nation that you're wealthy. Now, on a more serious matter, folks, the lack of support for our overworked healthcare staff. Look, I just think everyone in the healthcare sector needs to grow up. Life is tough, especially for a PM. And yes, let's not forget the mental health crisis that's been brewing under Nationals. What you may say, they've been slow to respond, you may say. But actually, our solutions have been actually quite pathetic, to put it plainly, and abysmal. Thus, we continue to send skilled workers overseas where they'll enjoy a better lifestyle. Now, the Ministry of Housing is another area where we may have, although not likely, fallen short in. Our response to the housing crisis has been, in my opinion, quite efficient. Some might argue we've left Kiwis struggling to find affordable homes, and my response to them is, well, if your PM can afford a home, you should be able to as well. Yep. And look, I know we could probably do a little bit better. We may need to work with the private sector, not saying anything about funding, but to increase workers' efforts and work hours and make housing more accessible to all New Zealanders. What I will say is we've created a new level of bureaucracy with the establishment of the Housing Ministry's Affordable Housing Unit, because what we really seriously need in this country was another layer of bureaucracy to speed things up, get things going, and ensure first-time homeowners the promise of not being eligible to a home loan. Look, while we're on the topic of speed and efficiency, let's talk about our response to climate change. You might say we're ahead of the league when it comes to this one, and it's starting to show. Our emissions are higher than, and our Climate Change Commission has been producing more reports than ever. And look, the more reports there is about something, the more there is to read about it, especially future governments. Now, look on to more light-hearted topics. Our handling of the economy has been both efficient and creative. We've managed to create a budget that's focused on election year bribes, all while ignoring fiscal responsibility. We're focusing on what really matters. As for our roads and infrastructure, well, look, only Judith Collins was qualified to do anything about our roads. If you're planning a road trip around New Zealand, then for God's sake, take some responsibility and pack at least 3 spare tyres. Okay? Just sort it out yourselves. Also, road levy charges are set to go up. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, oh, Christopher, this all sounds very doom and gloom. And you're right, it is. But here's the thing, we're committed to working tirelessly to regain the trust of New Zealand government ministers and mayors. We are, in fact, humble servants of the beehive, and will continue to act in the best interest of the nation, the nation's national government, national. Look, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Luxon Lowdown. If you want to hold us accountable and share your thoughts on social media, then I'd suggest just not doing that in general. And look, thanks ever so much to our listeners. Without your hard-earned tax-paying dollars, none of this would be possible. Ka nui te mihi ki a koutou tēnā koutou katoa ki a te pato. See you next time on Luxon's Lowdown.